Hello everyone, welcome to ITLS Academy. This is your mentor Dr. Shamaita Basu, and in this session this is one of the last sessions of the course of medical biotechnology, and in these sessions we will be talking about societal issues. So starting with the first part of societal issues in this session, societal issues as in societal issues when we are talking about medical biotechnology or when we are talking about biotech science or biotech industry in general. Okay, so one of the first things that I would like to brush upon when I am talking about this societal issues is bioethics or ethics. Okay. Now, the basic difference between ethics and bioethics is that when ethics is applied in biological field, particularly in biotechnology field, we call it as bioethics. Okay, which is a very important aspect of medical science, biological science, and any medical research field. Okay, so, bioethics will basically be defined as the study of ethical principles and values that ought to guide behavior and policy in biomedicine. Okay, so the two important terms in this definition will be behavior and policy. Okay, because in the biotech industry or in any biological or medical field, we always need to readily interact with the patients, interact with the people who are coming to us with their different issues, with their different problems. So in that case, it's very important that we do the right kind of behavior, we perform the right kind of behavior with that particular person who is on the other side of the table. That is very important because that person has come up with some problem which may be very personal to him, isn't it, to him or her. So that person has come up with the belief that you will be able to solve his problem, or you will be able to give him at least a direction to the solution of that problem. So that's why it's very important to behave in a proper manner, in a in a pre-designed and predetermined manner, and also following the important policies that need to be there. Okay, now there are some things which usually get confused with ethics. Now what are those things, what are those terminologies, or what are those broad aspects that will not be counted under ethics? Okay, what are they? Number one, personal beliefs. Okay, because personal beliefs is something which will vary from person to person depending on his or her age, his or her mental get up. So there are various factors which will influence the personal belief of a person. So that cannot be something which will come under ethics. Okay, so that will be omitted in the first place. Second, what polls and surveys reveal. Again, something very important, because polls and surveys means it's coming from a majority of a mass of people, okay, who are maybe like-minded, who are having a similar kind of mentality. So that doesn't mean that it is necessarily the right belief or necessarily the right action to be taken. Okay, so again, that will not come under ethics. Then the law, and obviously religious beliefs, because religious beliefs is again something which is very personal and which is very variable between the different religions for obvious reasons. Okay, now coming to what ethics is. So what are those aspects or what are those boundaries which will actually come under ethics? Okay, so number one will be justified principles and values, and under that we will be having convincing argument and pragmatic payoff. Means you have to basically justify your point, justify what are the principles, what are the values, what are the rules, what are the regulations that you are going to come up with. Okay, secondly, values that have appealed outside your own group or nation. And thirdly, character and virtues that produce trust. Again, now this trust word is very important when we are talking about societal issues or ethics. Okay, because again, the same thing, the person or the patient who is coming to you with his or her personal problem, personal disease or personal pathogenic problem, physiological disruption. Okay, so diseases are again something, there's a saying that you should never lie to your doctor and to your lawyer. These are the two persons whom you should never lie, no matter what is the situation. Okay, so why? Because it's very important that you tell your problem clearly and elaborately to your doctor or to your medical personnel whom you are consulting with your problem. Okay, so in that case there needs to be a basic amount of trust, then only that person will come up to you and tell you his or her problem or issue, isn't it? So trust will again be a very important factor when we are talking about societal issues. Okay, now why actually this ethics matters? Why actually we are talking about ethics so broadly under this topic of societal issues? So ethics leads the law. Okay, there are certain laws, there are certain rules and regulations which we need to follow as medical personnel, as doctors, as hospital staffs. And those rules and regulations are actually being guided by ethics. Second, ethics sometimes is all there is. So sometimes ethics is the ultimatum. Okay, sometimes they actually, I should say most of the times. Most of the times ethics is the ultimatum and it should be an ultimatum. Okay. Thirdly, ethics is what people care about when it comes to medicine and biotechnology. And under this, some bulletins are given. Let's see what they're saying. Duty to protect patients and public health. Very important, because these are the reasons why oath taking ceremony is a very important integral part of medical courses like nursing and MBBS, etc. Isn't it? Oath taking ceremony. So what they actually do, like what oath they actually take, the oath they actually take is that patient is my god, patient is my ultimate treasure. Okay, so whatever the scenario is, I should always serve my patient first. Okay, actually, like, I should place my patient even before me in the priority list. So that is what they take oath about. That patient is my first priority. No matter what, I will always think about the safety of my patient. So there comes these issues of ethics and bioethics and trust and laws, justifications, etc. Okay, and those who pursue health have a higher moral standard to meet, because health profession is actually known to be a very noble profession, because he was serving mankind, he was serving humankind. So actually basically you are next to god. That's why doctors are also known as next to god or human god, because we have never seen god, isn't it? We just believe in god in whatever manner, in whatever religious form we do. That is a different aspect, but none of us have ever seen god, isn't it? But these doctors, they save our lives, isn't it? They come in our lives when we are in the most distressful condition, isn't it? So that's why they are somewhat like gods, like somewhat like the what to say, like the physical form of god to us. So that's why the moral standard of these professions and the moral standard of these professionals also are very high. Okay. Okay, now let's see. The 21st century will be the century of biology and the life sciences, but we are not ready to respond to the ethical concerns people in the USA and worldwide have about this fact. So basically, since India is still now a poor and developing country, it's still now a third world country. It's an unfortunate fact, but it's true. And moreover, the population is very high and most of the people are illiterate. So in such a country, following rules and regulations and following something like ethics and societal issues in every aspect, in every field, is something very challenging. Okay, so in most of the cases we actually slip to do it, we actually fail to do it, fail to follow it in the proper manner. Okay, so coming to those points, ethical failure can kill biotech. So if there are some major failures in pursuing or in following some important ethical measures, then it can be very harmful for the biotech industry. Okay, for example, fetal tissue research, gene therapy, stem cell research, GMO foods, means genetically modified organisms, nor plant research in the third world. So these are some of the major categories where if ethics is not followed in an intricate manner, in a very strict manner, then it can lead to failure. Uh, and there are some current dangers also when we are talking about marketing, particularly in respect to societal issues or ethical issues. Okay, what are they? There will be conflicts of interest, there will be gifts, there will be intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights or IPR is again something very, very important when we are talking about ethics. Because what is actually intellectual property right? Right means something which is yours own, isn't it? You have right to that thing means you own that thing, isn't it? So when will a person own a particular thing? When that person has created that thing, isn't it? And that is exactly the concept behind intellectual property right. That you have come up with an idea, you have come up with a machine, you have come up with a protocol, you have come up with a hypothesis which is purely your own, okay, which is not someone else's property. So in that case you can just go and follow the particular rules, legal rules and regulations are there. You need to follow those rules and regulations, and then you can file a intellectual property right in your name against that particular product which you have come up with. Now again, in country like India, there are various corruptions are there, various like a huge group of people are there who are always tending to just disobey the rules and regulations, the laws and the legal concerns. And those people, what they do, they actually exploit these IPR rules and regulations, and they just what to say jeopardize the entire concept of this IPR, and they just snatch the right away from that person who is actually the owner. So again, these are some of the dangers or some of the drawbacks if ethics or societal issues are like not followed. Means if ethics are not followed, then these are some of the societal issues that may sprout up. Okay. What are other issues? There can be like celebrities, internet, okay, social media. Again, these are some of the platforms where many misinformation, many information which can actually be harmful, which is actually not only very wrong but also very harmful for the normal human society, can come up, isn't it? And we can see that every now and day some videos are cropping up, some reels are cropping up, and some person is becoming viral for no reason, and then the next day he or she is forgotten, some new person comes up. So social media is basically a virtual world where nothing is real, most of the things are fake. So these and social media has become such an important aspect or such an integral part of our lives that it's very difficult to avoid it, or it's very difficult to just look down upon it. So it's actually a very complicated scenario, and we should try as much as possible to not get into these misinformations and misconceptions that come up with the usage of social media. Okay. Now there are some models for managing ethics and biotech. What are they? Okay, so number one, we have proactive product management. Then we have hacking, ethical hacking and non-ethical hacking. Two different branches have also come up nowadays. Then we have firefighting, we have policy or code formulation, and we have audit and education. Audit is again something very important because it takes all the data of the different, programs, different workshops, seminars, and whatever different investments are going on with respect to company protocols. Now there are some case studies that I have given over here regarding management of ethics, proactive management of ethics. So Pfizer and Viagra. Pfizer is the vaccine, the COVID vaccine uh, that USA had come up with. It was RNA vaccine, sorry, a DNA vaccine, which where the fatty acid or the fatty layer coat was utilized, which mimicked the cell membrane, and thus it formed the spike protein of the COVID vaccine, COVID virus, after entering inside the cell of the host body. Okay, so that Pfizer and Viagra, which is used to elevate sexual performance. So these two medicines, there was some type of controversies and ethical issues that came up regarding these two uh, drugs. One is a vaccine and one is a medicinal drug. So recognition that a capability had medical value and fear of entering a controversial market, as I mentioned, because these are things which are controversial. Many people, there are many religious beliefs, there are many personal beliefs that using this kind of medicines like Viagra and vaccine, because vaccine is basically when you are like, to put it in a simple language, you are actually introducing the pathogenic factor inside your body to stimulate your immune system, isn't it? So some people are there who say that it is not something safe, it is not something that needs to be done. So these are basically some controversial issues where these societal issues actually come up. Now there are some ethical challenges of Viagra also. What are those? What is the disease? Like what is the actual disease condition when the person will use this drug, Viagra? Okay, because again I need to say, I need to mention about countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the third world countries, the developing countries. Because in these countries, since a lot of the population, a huge lot of the population is illiterate, so they are actually not aware of what to do and what not to do. So in such countries, misuse of drugs like this is very high. Chances of misuse of these drugs are very high. Not only Viagra, but also sleeping pills, anti-anxiety pills, antidepressants. Okay, these are the drugs, these are the medicines which are highly misused in countries like India. Just because of the huge population and a majority of those huge population being illiterate. Okay, so what is the disease? Then it is just a quality of life issue, means it should not become a habit, right? What about adverse events or deaths? Many like different adverse events and deaths have been reported regarding the rampant use of Viagra. What about the misuse? There can be sexual crime, teenagers, illicit sex, unprotected sex, sexually transmitted diseases can be transmitted. Okay, and how to get the drug without a proper prescription? You shouldn't be able to get drugs like Viagra and sleeping pills. Okay, like Alzolam, etc. Okay, and advertising also is a sensitive issue. Okay, because you are advertising something means it's on a public platform. So people from all different age groups, people from all different backgrounds is getting access to that advertisement. So how will you come up with such advertisements? Because these are adult issues, children should not be able to get access to these concepts, isn't it? These are where the social issues come up with. Next, coming to hacker model, genomics collaborative, it needs to obtain cells and tissues for biobanking, and payment to pathologists and surgeons is also something which needs to be taken care of. Consent for subjects, okay, subjects means, subjects over here means the patients who will be coming up for the different research trials, okay, and also property rights and ownership, again something very important, okay. Then we have come up with some private investors, okay, who actually link data for the different genetic projects and genetic makeup, okay. And there also there's can be some kind of community uncertainty and study concerns about altruism. What is altruism? Altruism is basically a relation between relatives or between related species, where if a species is at risk, then the other species goes and saves that species, even if the his or her own life is at risk. Okay, altruism is basically something which is practiced largely among the different birds and animal species, particularly those who live in the forests. Okay, adulting and educating may आएगा, monitoring biotech code, gene therapy, AstraZeneca. So these are some of the major aspects. Now, is ethics going away anytime soon? It is a very controversial question, and according to me, the answer is and should be no. Because ethics is something which, because we are human beings, we are the most intelligent species on the face of the earth. So we should not only intelligent, but also we have something called EQ, that is emotional quotient, which is not present in any other species on this planet, isn't it? So if particularly when we are talking about ethics, we should be talking about EQ also, because it's they are complementary to each other. They go hand in hand. Okay, I will come up with ethics only if I have my emotional quotient, only if I understand the trust issues, the mental problems, the different, the different personal problems, the societal issues, the financial burden, economical setback that people face, that humans face, that we face as a part of the human society. So ethics is something that we should follow in some aspects. Okay, but yeah, there are some conditions, there are some cases where just because of ethics, many important innovations, many important scientific breakthroughs are actually being interrupted, are actually being not projected publicly. So these things are very much controversial, these things are very much unfortunate, but that doesn't mean that we should completely forget about ethics. Okay, so there are some of the fields, some of the important fields that I've mentioned over here where ethics should be an important platform, like stem cell research, transgenic animals, cloning, artificial organs, obviously the genetically modified organisms, okay, brain revolution, diagnosis, treatments, anti-aging treatments, okay, like that. Now, what must the investors, CEOs, boards, and the auditors do? Due diligence should be there. They should understand bioethics. They should prepare clients to cope with the issues. And they should enter the public policy debates over ethics. Now, coming to something called ethics and morality. So, ethics is a set of moral principles and a code for behavior that govern an individual's actions with other individuals and within the human society. Morality is what people believe to be right and good, while ethics is a critical reflection about morality. Isn't that is the perfect example, I'd say. Morality is the values that we have as human beings. And ethics are the aspects which actually showcase how we are utilizing our values. Okay. Now coming to law. Okay, now say whenever we are talking about some rules and regulations, we need to come up with particular laws, because otherwise no people will follow it. Okay, and in spite of making laws and rules and regulations, also there are saying like rules and are meant to be broken, isn't it? And that is something very true. Okay, wherever there is rule, the rules are being broken. So that is again a different aspect of controversy, or a different aspect of discussion. Laws are brought about by tension, agitation, and conflict, by dramatic situations. Laws are societal rules or regulations that are obligatory to observe, and law protects the welfare and safety of society, resolve conflicts, and are constantly evolving. That is the perfect definition of law, I'd say. And coming to bioethics, again, something I've already talked about. So it refers to the moral issues and problems that have arisen as a result of modern medicine and medical research. Issues in bioethics are usually life and death issues. Ethical and bioethical principles can be personal, organizational, institutional, or worldwide. Now, how will we actually compare law and ethics? So, law, ethics, and bioethics are different but related concepts. Laws are mandatory to which all citizens must adhere or risk civil or criminal liability. Ethics relate to morals and helps us organize complex information and competing values and interests to formulate consistent and coherent discussions. Now, there is something called ethical dilemma. It's what to do and what not to do, whether to do or whether not to do. That is what is dilemma. So, we should value the conflicts, and there is not something like hard and strict rule that this is the right thing to follow. So a conflict between moral obligations that are difficult to reconcile and require moral reasoning will come under ethical dilemma. Okay. And there are some ethical issues in modern healthcare also. So in modern healthcare and research, value conflicts arises where often there appears to be no clear consensus as to the right thing to do. Means there is no clear image about what is the right thing to do and what we shouldn't do. Okay. So these conflicts present problems requiring moral decisions and necessitates a choice between two or more alternatives. Examples: should a parent have a right to refuse immunization for his or her child? Again, vaccination. Something I've already talked about when I was talking about Pfizer. Does public safety supersede an individual's right? Because in many cases people do not understand that it is actually being done for their safety. They think that my privacy is being interrupted, my safety is being interrupted, my personal choices are being interrupted, are being questioned. Okay, so again, these are controversial issues. These issues will remain. Okay, but we can be more conscious, and we can be able to come up with a solution if we follow these ethical issues in a proper ethical regulations in a proper manner. And there are some ethical questions also, like, should children with serious birth defects be kept alive? Should a woman be allowed an abortion for any reason? Should terrorists be tortured to gain information, possibly saving hundreds of lives? Should healthcare workers be required to receive smallpox vaccination? Who should get the finite number of organs for transplantation? So these are some questions to which perfect or ideal answer is not there, to be very honest. Okay, but to at least to understand more about these questions, or to understand more about the answers to these questions, we need to know about ethics or bioethics. Okay, so I think that's it. We will be shortly moving on to the second session of the topic societal issues. Till then, thank you, goodbye. Please like, share, and subscribe ITLS Academy.